So my little 4-part video series exploring Sheffield and Derbyshire has come to an end, but I thought I would take the opportunity to visit even more railway stations around these parts before I head back to London. And funnily enough, I am catching the same exact train I caught 2 days ago to ride the Matlock line, which is actually going all the way through to London. So I've not gone to London, but just one stop to Chesterfield. Chesterfield is maybe best known for St Mary's Church, which unusually has a crooked spire. I didn't think there was a reason behind it, but an information board outside the station said that green wood used in the construction twisted the spire as it dried out. It's been nice to wander around the town in my hour in Chesterfield, including coming up to its market area here. So I'm back at the station, which first opened in 1840, but it was resited 30 years later as part of a new line to Sheffield. It has also been known as Chesterfield St Mary's after the church and Chesterfield Midland after the Midland Railway over the years. Additionally, there have also been separate stations here called Chesterfield Central and a terminus one called Chesterfield Market. 2 stations named after places I visited in the town. And I've bounced back to Dronfield Station, which sits in between Chesterfield and Sheffield. A lot of fields around here. Well, probably not anymore because it's quite urban now. Dronfield gets an hourly service, but I'm just bouncing back, reversing here. I've only got about a 13-minute change. This is one of the stations which opened on the new line to Sheffield in 1870, but it did actually close for a period of time between 1967 and 1981. However, in February 1979, for just 4 days, the station was temporarily reopened. Because of very heavy snowfall around the Sheffield area, traffic was at a standstill. So they stopped services here, and there were special 20p single tickets from Dronfield to Sheffield. I wonder if that was a catalyst in reopening this station permanently. So I am spending the full hour here at Alfreton, even though there are additional services which I didn't realise. I thought they were all northern stations, but they do have extra East Midlands Railway trains stopping here. So there's not really a whole lot to go and have a look at here at Alfreton, but I noticed on Street View that there is a disused tunnel, and Google Maps does even show a path leading towards it, but I'm not too sure if that's actually public or not, or if it's part of Network Rail property, but you can see clearly that there used to be more tracks to the side of this station which would have led down to the tunnel. There is a public footpath down beside the railway bridge, but I just don't know if I can specifically get onto that path. I mean, it is separated by the railway by a fence, so maybe? No, I'm also separated by a fence. This path just leads right along this field. I might take it though anyways. I mean, I've got an hour. See where it leads for a bit. Why not? Let's do the history of the station whilst on this path. It initially opened in 1862, was renamed to Alfreton and South Normanton in 1891, and much like Dronfield, it was also closed in 1967. It reopened much earlier though in 1973 under the name of Alfreton and Mansfield Parkway, as it was the closest station to Mansfield at the time, but in 1995 that suffix was dropped as a new Mansfield station opened on a reopened Robin Hood line that runs between Nottingham and Worksop, and it seems like they've just opened some brand new lifts here. I went for a ride in it and it smelt very, very new, so that's good. Love seeing step-free access come to another station. But I guess I just got to go all the way back along the path now to said station.
Liverpool South Parkway and Liverpool 9 Street. 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 Liver
Well, automated announcements are quite weird to listen to whilst you're in the middle of nature. So Langley Mill is another station with a complicated history, and that's not even mentioning the fact there's been a separate branch line station here where the car park now is, and another station on another line called Langley Mill and Eastwood that opened in 1876. So this station opened in 1847 as Langley Mill and Heenor. In 1876 it became Langley Mill and Eastwood, almost like they didn't want a competitive railway company stealing all of the passengers for Eastwood. And then it became the very convoluted name of Langley Mill and Eastwood for Heenor. And then, like the other stations, it closed in 1967 too. Obviously it reopened in this staggered formation, very small platforms, in 1986. So 2 days ago, when I was travelling on the Matlock line, I did a walk along the Cromford Canal between two stations. Well, here at Langley Mill, I've come to the very end of the Cromford Canal, where it turns into the Erewash Canal that runs towards the River Trent, and also you got a branch splitting off here, that is the Nottingham Canal. I'm going to do the same thing and walk along the canal to the next station, the Erewash to Ilkeston. Now, if I wasn't delayed on the first day of my trip, I might have even done more canal walking between some of the Sheffield tram stops, so they would have been a very heavy feature on this 4-day video series. One lock down at Eastwood Lock. I've just had to cross over, and the towpath is on the other side of the canal. So I've reached a point where I'm going to come off of the Erewash Canal now, because I have a little bit of old railway to explore. So this is the Benelli Viaduct, nicknamed the Iron Giant, one of only 2 remaining wrought iron viaducts in the UK. It carried the Great Northern Railway between 1878 and 1968 on a route from Grantham to Derby and to Stafford. And you do have the still existing railway running underneath it. So the Iron Giant does straddle the Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire border. I'm assuming the River Erewash down there is the border itself. Once the railway line closed, it was deemed too expensive to dismantle this, so it just lay here and became derelict. But only rather recently has it been restored, and you can now stand on top of it. There was a sign though saying that the other side of the viaduct, the ramp down, is not yet complete, which I was going to do to then walk along the Nottingham Canal to Ilkeston Station. But it doesn't make too much of a difference if I just stick with the Erewash Canal. They both run relatively close to the station. Brilliantly, I can even make out the cooling towers of East Midlands Parkway way over there. So because I couldn't walk all the way across the viaduct, I've made it to Ilkeston Station earlier than planned, and there is a train in only a few minutes. Unlike the other stations on this line, which reopened in the 80s and whatnot, this one took until April 2017. That's why it looks a lot newer than the other ones we've seen today. So I've now completed all stations between Sheffield and Nottingham. There's like a triangle of track connecting 3 major cities, these 2 and Derby. I've had longer to change here than expected now. I was only going to have 8 minutes. So I have been to Nottingham once before, about 6 years ago. Like Sheffield, it does have a tram system, but I didn't get to ride all of it. Maybe I'll come back and do that another day. It's a long old trek down to the terminating bay platforms down here. I actually would have been rushing if I had an 8-minute change, but again, I can actually make a slightly earlier train as my next station has more trains stopping there. So funnily enough, that was a Matlock train that I caught. I'm not going all the way back there again though. I'm at Long Eaton, where originally, similarly, I would have only had 8 minutes to change here. It's actually a good thing that I caught the earlier train, as the one which I should have got here on is currently delayed. There's damage to the overhead electric wires at Birmingham New Street, so basically no trains are going in and out of Birmingham at the moment. It's causing a massive knock-on effect. So I actually would not have made the connection here at Long Eaton that I wanted to catch, which would have been a huge problem, as this is like the most important connection of the day. I have to make this train for a very awkward station. So I'm actually pleased I didn't have to walk all the way over the Bentley Viaduct. So it's time to attempt what I'm going to call the Derby diversions. 3 stations on 3 separate branches from Derby, which are all a little bit awkward to get to. I'm in the lift, I just thought I'd come down to street level quickly. I just realised though that this might have a knock-on effect. I do need to catch a train towards Birmingham later. I might not be able to do one of the stations. I feel like I'm going to be sick of Derby by the end of this. So there's not a whole lot to this station. It's probably the most important one to tick off today, just because of how awkward of a service pattern it gets. I can hear birds in the trees. I don't think they're partridges though. So this is unusual, something I've not seen at any other station before. I have to press a button to be let out of the station. Do I? Open? How do you open? So this is one of them weird scenarios where we're in quite a built-up urban area. So think of Manors in Newcastle or Bawdsley in Birmingham, where despite this, it still has a really bad service pattern. There's only, what, 2 trains in each direction in the morning, 2 trains in each direction in the evening. I'm coming on a 16:49, I'm returning on a 17:19. So to get in the station on the other platform, it is just as unusual. So I'm actually going to have to contact a member of staff. I think I should just press this button and it will connect me to somebody. Did it ring out?
Email.
Get the 1719 from Peartree, please.
Yep, no, thanks so much.
Thank you. Why do I have to do that? My first thought is that this is a pretty rough part of Derby. It's a way of deterring local youths to hang out at the station. Because they do that. Sudbury and Harrow Road station in London, which is very awkward, only gets a rare few services in the peak. People are always hanging out there when there's no trains running. So because there isn't too many trains and perhaps it's not the most welcoming entrance, it is the least used station in Derbyshire. I mean, they haven't even bothered to change the signs yet to the new East Midlands Railway branded ones that we've been seeing on this trip. They've painted their lampposts though. They do have the little strip of EMR purple on there. So we were at Alfreton station earlier, which was called Alfreton and South Normanton back in the day. Well, when this opened in 1890, it was Peartree and Normanton, but it closed back in 1968. Reopened in 1976 when they reopened an old branch line to a place called Sinfin, because there's a Rolls-Royce plant there. It was for the workers, but that closed in 1998. Despite that though, Peartree station has survived. Perhaps that's why it doesn't see too many passengers, as workers used to use it for the Rolls-Royce plant at Sinfin. This is definitely one of the weirdest stations I've ever been to, and with its long ramp down to the platform and its least used status, it's reminding me very much of Finstock, Let's hope I don't spend 2 hours here though. I also like that these new shelters have kind of kept the design of old daggered canopies that you see at very historic stations. Changing at Derby. Let's go do diversion number 2. This is a very sleepy little place. I mean, even the wind turbines are taking a nap. So I'm actually on the line heading back towards Nottingham, and it's not as awkward as Peartree. I thought maybe they had improved the service pattern and it got an hourly service because it's all the Matlock trains, but no, it is still kind of every 2 hours it seems. In the peak it becomes hourly. Then all of a sudden there's an additional cross-country train at 6 o'clock. But cross-country go Birmingham and the issue has not resolved, so that essentially isn't running. But luckily I don't have to wait too long for the 6:17 behind. So the first time I travelled to Derby, it was with cross-country out of Birmingham. From Tamworth, where it connects with the West Coast Main Line, there are 2 stations, Willington and Burton-on-Trent. And I think I had to use Burton-on-Trent to stop at Willington, because this was before I was trying to visit every station. I was trying to call at all of the stations, because a lot of trains would skip that one. So I have explored around Burton-on-Trent. I think I had about an hour there. But Willington, sometimes there's trains every 3 hours. It's a bit annoying. So yeah, slightly frustrating that I might not be able to do that one, especially as it was actually quite tricky to kind of tie into today's plan. So I'm actually not going to get this train now, as it's just going to bring me back to Derby, where I can't get to Willington. And because I've missed out stations in between Derby and Nottingham, because I opted to go and do these awkward stations, I'm just going to be coming back through Derby and Spondon anyways after I visited Willington. So I'm just going to spend an hour here and wait for the next train back to Nottingham. Swings and roundabouts, this at least gives me an opportunity to now check out the former Derby Canal, which would have ran through what has become a linear park just near to Spondon Station. So I was just thinking to myself as I walk along the former towpath, how on earth am I going to tick off Willington Station now? But I just had a look on the map, and the Trent and Mersey Canal, funnily enough, considering I'm on an old canal, flows right past the station. So I'm sure I can come up with some sort of walk along it that will either start or end at Willington Station. So how's that for a compromise? You'll get like an unofficial 5th video in the series, just an all-day canal walk, so I can go and tick off Willington. So now that I've got Willington out of the way, who am I kidding? I didn't. I've only got 2 stations left now. And if I wasn't so focused on trying to visit the awkward stations around Derby, I probably would have done a walk between them, as I could have went along the River Trent. I don't quite have enough time to do that, but here at Attenborough Station, I thought I'd still at least come down and see some water, as there's a whole nature reserve here. And yes, it was opened by Sir David Attenborough himself, all the way back in 1966. So the second station I missed out earlier was Beeston, which brings to an end a total of 10 new stations for me today. In total on the whole trip, 24. It should be 25, but we'll come back and do Willington another day. They're still playing announcements for delayed cross-country trains from about 2 hours ago. I'd say from the whole trip, my favourite one was Cromford, and my least favourite was from today, Langley Mill. I've made 2 videos before where I visited every station on the line between Retford and Sheffield, and every station on the Midland Main Line between Leicester and Long Eaton. One of them performed exceptionally better than the other, so it's been nice this time to fill in the gaps essentially and tick off all the remaining stations in this area. That was a long and tiring trip, but very fun. I'm going to catch the train now, one stop to Nottingham again, where I'm going to catch my fast train back to London. Ironically, it is actually going to stop here at Beeston, but I don't want to wait that long. Plus, it's an advanced single, where annoyingly, the day after I bought it, the price decreased by £5. Just so much for it's cheaper if you buy it earlier. It's taken until my last EMR regional train for it to be a former Greater Anglia unit and not a former London Midland one. I only would have caught one of these trains once as part of Greater Anglia on the way back from Shippy Hill in 2017. I haven't missed London.